All right, guys. So we're having some technical difficulties. This is supposed to be on Dr. Jacque Moser's page of Pittsburgh, or the ones with Pittsburgh Structured Chiropractic, but we're having a little bit of a technical issue. I think it's on my end, my personal page's end. Bringing Jacque on camera. Happens there. So we're gonna do it here, and then we're gonna do some other things once I figure out what's going on with my stuff. Let me know if you got that, Jacque. Yeah, I sent you an invite, so it's just not working in general. It's everybody. It's everybody's failing. This is so bizarre. Hey, Megan. Trying to get Jacque on here. Hey, Elise. There he is. There he
Hey!
is.
Holy smokes.
Some violent technical issues.
Yeah. And violence on my end, I guess. I was breaking stuff over here.
Were you?
Nah.
Oh. I just like
Not this time.
stuff, you know.
Yeah. I like to be intense.
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked, man.
We will get to your page eventually. We just got. I think it's on my page. So like when I was trying to do it with Dr. Dale, I had to make my page public. I don't know if it stayed public, and I thought it was public. I don't know how it all works. We'll figure it out though.
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever. No big
So either way, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Bloomington page.
Yep.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome, my friend.
Good. We got a lot of people on already. This is going to be an awesome topic. I know you're pretty, because when you deal with any kind of cancer or any kind of any disease, when we talk about how your mind works and how that has a huge role on the physiology, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely, man.
I guess we'll get started with that. It's like, how far, do you know who Bruce Lipton is?
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah.
Isn't he a genius?
Yeah, he absolutely is.
Yeah, so I wanted to start this by referencing one of his studies, and what he did was he took stem cells, right? And he took them and he put them in petri dishes, and he changed the chemistry of that petri dish, and they turned into different types of cells. Okay, so like you have 50 trillion cells in your body, roughly, right? And you lose 500 billion every single day. Okay, so how do we get those cells back? My internet is in 100. Okay.
Yeah.
What, did you hear me?
Yeah. How do we get the cells back?
Yeah, how do we get those cells back?
We grow them, man.
We grow them, right? We use stem cells. We replicate our own cells. So, like, for instance, if you fast for 3 days, your stomach will be completely turned over, right? So what determines whether those cells are healthy or sick? That's what we're kind of talking about, right?
Yep.
And when we talk about that, our stress hormones are basically what changes the chemistry of our soup. Because if we look at ourselves, we're not just one individual. We're 50 trillion different separate individuals, right? As far as cells. So when we look at something in a negative light, that changes that chemistry, which then allows for those cells to produce unhappy cells or sad cells, sick cells, right? Yeah. So, any thoughts on that?
So I was sharing it to my page too, so we get more people on here.
Cool.
But yeah, so I mean, thoughts on that? It's pretty simplistic. I remember going to Life Chiropractic College back then. Now it's Life University because it's so big. And Bruce Lipton came up on stage on one of our I think it was like a Thursday or Tuesday or something like that. We had speakers come, and I'm like, who the heck is this guy? He's talking about changing genes. I'm like, what in the world?
Right?
I remember sitting there in the auditorium, and I'm just like, I'm like, how long has this been going on? And if you look back and you date back some of his research, he actually lost, I think, his research partner because he came out with epigenetics, and then this dude tried proving Bruce Lipton wrong and proved him right instead.
Exactly.
So he called it behavioral epigenetics. But yeah, I mean, like the way that you think and the way that you perceive things can absolutely massively impact the way that you feel. And that's probably the most obvious way that people can experience this on a daily basis. So the example that I'll use with my patients is I love football. If you put me on a football field and give me a football and tell me to go play, I'm going to get it so pumped, so excited. I'm going to be ready to go. But if you put, like somebody who just plays video games all the time on an actual football field and say, go play quarterback or go be a running back and run through that hole right there, they're going to have a totally different perception of the event. And so that's where like epigenetics will come into play, is that however we perceive our surroundings is going to be how our genes adapt to express themselves.
Right. So
what are your thoughts on that, man?
No, I totally agree. I think it's crazy. Like, I mean, I've only been doing like research on this for, you know, a little while, but I was in like, you're Tom Bilyeu and all those guys, like, you know, those speakers, and how everything we think about will actually eventually become true, even if it's like financial gain, all of those things. But what the problem is when we only spend 5% of our time in our conscious mind and actually thinking about things. The other 95% of the time we're in that subconscious mind. So that subconscious mind is like a tape recorder, right? So everything we say to that thing, it just tapes and then repeats it, right? Mm-hmm. So if you were brought up, so I always use the example, if your dad liked Chevy trucks, you're going to go and you're probably going to like Chevy trucks when you get older because he told you from day one. Like, I'm a huge Cowboys fan, football. We go back.
That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate.
The reason I'm a huge Cowboys fan is because my dad loves the Cowboys, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, we're programmed when we're young, and if you're programmed to be broke, essentially, when you get older, you'll spend that 5% of the time wishing you had more. But every time you stop thinking actively, you go back to that broke mindset, right? Yep. So we need to figure out how we can change that 95%, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm sure, do you know about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. We can go back and forth.
Just toss it back and forth. Yeah. I give, I receive. So, so I mean, going into that and how we kind of program those things, we talked about it. I think it was either yesterday or the day before. Yeah. We were talking about, you know, third trimester to, was it 6 or 7 years old? We're basically just a giant sponge. And so sometimes we don't even know why we think the way that we do or why we feel the way that we do over certain instances. And so there's there's branches of chiropractic that will dive into like the neuroemotional technique or NET, and they'll come back and say, hey, something happened back when you were 6 years old that was massively traumatic, and your subconscious mind, to protect you, buried it. And so you've adapted over all these years, and it's like putting a callus over top of this emotion that you experienced back then. And then if somebody starts poking the bear, all of a sudden, boom, it erupts. You're like, where did that come from? Well, it could have been something all the way from back then, or it could just be something that we just tell ourselves on a daily basis. And so I remember down in Houston, we would talk about the abundant mindset or the poverty mindset. And it's up to you which one you want to try to choose to have. And what you think about ultimately sounds cliche, but what you think about, you bring about. So we have to change those positive thoughts. And so you can think about like if you're talking about our subconscious mind being a record player, and if you just play the same track over and over and over again, you're just going to keep digging down that groove further and further and further.
Right.
And if we don't consciously use our conscious mind to rewire our subconscious mind, we'll never be able to get out of that rut.
Exactly.
So we have to make sure we change the way that we think.
Yeah. So to that, like, oh man. So I learned something crazy the other day. You know, we were talking about cancer last week, was it? Pneuma. Mm-hmm. Talked about cancer last week. I don't even have one here.
I almost texted you and said, "Did you bring your Pneuma?"
You got to remind me of this stuff, Jacque. Come on, we're a team.
We couldn't even get the phone to work, so I can't.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was something crazy. I remember we were talking about cancer last week, and we were talking about how your body walls it off. Mm-hmm. So if we think as in a protective mind state, so like I don't want to mess up, or I'm afraid of something, your body will go into a protective state. And can you grow when you're in a protective state? No.
Nope.
So you need to you either choose one or the other. You're going to be in a protective state, so you're going to either wall off your cancer. That's what you're thinking about. You're worried about cancer. You're going to get cancer. Or you think about, I'm growing, I'm always healthy, I'm doing all of these things. And if you repeat that to yourself enough, you'll eventually change it, because it's like learning the ABCs. When you started with A, you were like A, and then you're like A, what comes after A? B, A, B, A, B, A, B. Then you went to C, right? Then you went to D, then you went to E, and so on and so forth. So if you continue to repeat to yourself, hey, or like, I'm the kind of person that gets up within 10 minutes of my alarm going off. I don't know, just an example. If I say that to myself, and that's totally not me, I hit snooze like 6 times. I'm not a morning person at all.
Dude, I have a sunlight like headlight that goes off in my room. But go ahead.
Oh, really? That's pretty cool, actually.
I'll explain that cortisol rhythm and stuff to you afterwards.
That'd be great. So if I say that to myself enough times, eventually my subconscious will then believe that, and I will start performing those actions. So if I say that I am wealthy, I don't like fake it till you make it, but I think Dr. Ryan Gunyon told me, be great until you are great. Mm-hmm. I think that was a really good one.
Yeah.
And he said, so what happens is if you do these things over and over and over and over, your body will start doing things because your subconscious is constantly thinking about it. So when I'm on my goals, I love being in my subconscious. It's like my la la land. I live there, man. Like, it's probably worse off. Anyway, I have these huge goals, and all of these things are coming true because if you go back to my story, like when I was in school and stuff, like I was a terrible student. Like I was so bad. In high school, I graduated with like a .21 or something terrible. I got rejected to like every school I applied to.
That's pretty impressive.
One guy from the University of Wisconsin-Platteville took a chance on me, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm a doctor, you know what I mean? But I knew, like, I can go back to when I was like 10 years old. I told my mom I was going to be a doctor, a millionaire, and I was going to, you know, she wouldn't have to worry about money anymore, you know? So, like, I put that in my own mind way back then, and now, you know, everything's coming to fruition, right? I'm not quite a millionaire, but someday, right?
Yeah, right?
That's next, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, and then I repeated that, repeat that. You follow me? And that's how we're changing that subconscious. Now, there's more than one way to do that. Do you know any other ways?
I mean, like, prime example, the patient I met with yesterday, I think it was yesterday. He had he's 12 going on 13. He got diagnosed with brain cancer, and so we brought in the whole spiritual aspect of things. But then one of the other things that I did was like, hey, I gave him full ownership of this condition. I'm like, I'm not here to tell you that anything is wrong with your body. I'm not that kind of doctor. What I'm going to tell you that's happening is that your body is responding to something that's going on around you, whether it's external environment or internal environment. We know that he had some other issues that were going on from previous, injuries and things of that nature. His hips were completely on level 2, so his low back is, I mean, he needs a lot of work. But again, the big thing was like, I'm not here. Like, if you go into a doctor's office, what are they going to tell you? You have a diagnosis. They're going to label you smack. You're 12 years old. Boom, you are brain cancer. Then what do you start to believe? You start to immediately start believing that you're sick, you're going to die. You know somebody who's had brain cancer, and that's why most people die very soon after from either a heart attack or they'll just die from cancer or suicide because they don't feel that their bodies are strong enough to be able to beat this condition. All it is an adaptation of the body. So the thing that I told him, I think that made the most profound impact was like, listen, you're in control of your thoughts. So get rid of any negative influences around you because ultimately you're you adopt the traits of the 5 people that you're closest with. So you want to make sure you choose your tribe carefully. If you don't, then you're letting in those toxic thoughts and you're going to get sick. So I told him to do that. And then I also told him, I was like, just start with some 10 easy affirmations. I am affirmations. Whatever it is, uncover it and figure out what resonates the best with you and what resonates the best with your body and keep saying it. If you get into a crappy mood, then keep saying it over and over and over again until you forget what the hell the mood was that got you to read those things to begin with. So it's that hard wiring of that subconscious mind that truly we have to be in tune with. So that's usually what I'll tell people to do.
No, I like that. And then you can go into like an easier way to like even bridge that gap because that's hard. That takes a long time. So if we get into like a meditative state or a prayer state, how that has an impact on your body is so profound because you're repeating those things over into your mind. So you're like in that alpha, almost into that theta state where you can start directly reprogramming that subconscious, which I think it just takes you one step further. So like if I'm going to meditate or I'm going to do something, I'm repeating how great I am, which is super easy for me to do, but but you know what I mean, right? Like, and I'm not saying like I'm super cocky or anything like that. It's not me at all. But I say those things because I want to be those things, right? So I always say like my role model is me 10 years down the road. I think Patrick said that too, right?
Okay.
Patrick?
I don't know.
Where I want to be like, so what I want to be in 10 years is what I want to think about. And then when I get there, I'm what's the next 10 years? So every day my goal changes, right? It's always like, well, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? And eventually keep repeating that enough and enough and enough. And my subconscious will change. And then I'll start acting differently to allow those things to come into my life.
Absolutely.
Follow me? So like, if I say I can't afford a Tesla, I will never be able to afford a Tesla. But if I say I can afford a Tesla, I will do things that then will allow me to afford a Tesla, right? And that's just, and we're not talking money, but like same thing with health. I'm just trying to equate it to a different scenario, right? So if we talk about health, if I say I'm going to, not even that I'm going to beat cancer, but I'm going to be healthy repetitively or in my mindset or in my meditation, in my prayers, all of those things, I will then beat cancer because I'm changing that subconscious. And I think that's just so crazy. And the physiology behind that, you're reducing your amount of stress hormones, so you're changing the chemistry of your blood, allowing your cells to differentiate into healthy cells. And it's just like,
Like, why would I not do that? That's just, it's kind of like a no-brainer.
Right, but that's like the main part with like, so we talk about it all the time. You got to treat the 3 T's. Thoughts, traumas, and toxins. I'm really good at removing traumas. We're really good at removing toxins. You have to take care of your thoughts because it's the third component. right?
Mm-hmm.
We always talk about getting adjusted and eating right, but like not many people talk about like, okay, how can we think differently? How
Mm-hmm.
can we perceive things differently, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I just actually scribbled down some notes here because I'm a scribbler. I have no organization at all. It looks like a blank piece of paper, but I swear there's invisible ink on it. I don't know.
Invisible
So talking about another tangible, because I think a lot of times when we talk about this subject and the subconscious mind and the power of words, people are like, you guys are like hippy dippy weirdos. Like, what are you talking about? What you think about? You bring about like that. It's not necessarily true. So we talk about. Sorry if I offended somebody back there.
No, I was talking about my my man bun. I'm
oh, gotcha.
People think I'm hippy dippy. They're like, this guy's crazy.
Yeah, well, they see me, they're like, he's a jock named Jacque, and so he's probably a jock.
I was thinking about that in the shower. Like, oh, I should have said that.
That's
I was
awkward.
thinking about that the other day.
All right. Hopefully it wasn't a long shower. Anyways, side note. So tangent to come off of that. We need to do a podcast or something. This is ridiculous. So side note on this is, all right, so we, like the biggest subject now, anytime we're like going into like the new school year, we talk about bullying and how bad bullying is. And there's always that phrase, you know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me, which is bullcrap. Right. You know, words hurt a lot. And so what can happen is when somebody is telling you, like if I told you and I planted these thoughts in your mind, I'm not going to do it because it's rude, but if I said some negative things about you, you're like, man, that guy really hurt my feelings. Like, that sucks. And so you can instantly feel that body chemistry change. You don't have to have the measurements. You don't have to say, oh, my cortisol raised, or this went down, or my hormones crashed, my gut hurts, my stomach. You don't need to know all the specifics, but you know that after that happens, it's like a wet blanket just got thrown over top of you. And you're like, man, this sucks. So that's somebody else's words impacting you. Now, what are the most positive or the most impactful words that you can use are your own words to influence your own body physiology. Right. So that's where those affirmations come into play. And two of the most powerful words that I've learned, you listen to like Wayne Dyer, like rest in peace, Mr. Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer. So he has, and I actually have it on my phone. It's the I am. It's the Moses code meditation, where it's just like guitar strings and just like the code of, I forget what it exactly was, but basically you say, I am that I am. And so what you do is before you would meditate on that, you'd write down or you'd think about, what is it? I am financially sound. I am a millionaire. I am healthy. I am this. Because those two words, I am, and then you fill in the blank, and it's been researched that those two words, I am sick, will then accept my physiology. My subconscious will say, oh, Jacque said that he's sick. I guess we're sick today. So let's make sick cells. Let's make some cancer. Let's make his gut hurt. Let's make sure his wounds don't heal. You just keep beating yourself down over and over again. So using like meditations like that, where it's really easy, you just plug in the headphones if you want to and just think of something positive. And you just, as the chimes and things are going in your head, you're constantly rewiring yourself over and over and over again. So that way you're using your own positive words to build yourself up because they're the most impactful.
Yeah, I love that. I love that
Thoughts?
So much. I didn't know the I am thing as much as that. I didn't know that. I used to say I am the kind of person that, for some reason, because I want to do different things. So like, I mean, I wasn't always the most studious person in the world, right? So as I just explained to you, so like, in order for me to get into that train of thought, like I wanted to learn more and become what I am, I had to start saying, I am the kind of person that enjoys learning. You know, you had to get to that phase first, right? Then I can be like, okay, I am the kind of person that, and now I am, but I am using the I am. Just put it that, the kind of person that, right? That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, because then it draws more specifics from what you're choosing, what you're grasping at, and it's really it sounds, again, I use the phrase hippy dippy. I think a little bit more than I probably should, but when these things start like coming to you, you're like, holy smokes! Like how did that happen? Like I said for the longest time, you know. John DeMartini is another guy that's an amazing dude to listen to. And he says, you know, people will, travel whatever distance and pay whatever price to receive my services of love. And so I used to say that over and over in my head. And when I came up into Pittsburgh, I started saying those same things over again. And most people would say, well, you're in Oakmont, which is a super small city outside of Pittsburgh. Like, you have such a small hole to get people in. And so I kept repeating those things over and over again. Then I'm on like our office was just barely, you know, open. And I get a phone call from a guy in Ohio asking me if I can help his dad with prostate cancer. I'm like, what the heck are you doing in Ohio calling me? And then so from there, like all these people from Ohio started contacting me. Then Maryland did, then New York did, then Houston reached out again. So It's people will travel whatever distance, and these people are paying good money to come and see me because if they don't drive, if they're Amish and they don't drive, it's $1 a mile to get out here. So it's about $300 just in travel costs to get out here to see me, to get adjusted, and then travel back. So I love on that, and they're some of the best patients too because they're so dedicated to their health. It's amazing, but it's really cool. It's really freaky when that happens, and like you'll put it out there, or like I'll say I'm an international speaker. Now, I spoke in Traverse City last year, and then this year in Nashville. So I'm making my way around the circuit, and I'm like, I put it out there. I didn't think it was actually going to happen. And Dr. Flynn was like, "You want to speak?" I'm like, "Yeah,
I'm speaking next year, man."
Of course.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's so cool because I could go through a number. Like I said, I told my mom when I was 10 years old that I was going to be a doctor. Like no one ever thought that, by the way. Everyone was like, yeah, right. You can barely get through grade school, man. I got suspended in like 5th grade for never mind, for doing some stupid stuff. Yeah. And then I can even go back to how I met Chloe. I was thinking about all those things, and then all of a sudden Chloe texts me, and it's like, oh, well, look at that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And now we're probably gonna get married and do a bunch of cool stuff. Which this is nothing, Chloe. So don't look into it. Yeah.
Cancel, clear. Abort. No, I'm just kidding. No, because I think about that too. I'm like, so here's my travel plans in my life. Okay, so my dad was like, listen, I want you to figure out what you want to do, and I don't want you to have to work for anybody else. I don't want, because he had a rough time with his job and things, and his bosses were always mean to him and whatnot. And he's like, I want you to do what you're truly passionate about and be around people that you truly want to be around. So that way you can be your own boss and do your own thing. So that way you can truly have free range of whatever you want to do. He's like, so pick a job. So originally I was going to be a surgeon, and then I was in the emergency room way too many times with squirting blood out of every orifice of my body. And I'm like, maybe that's not for me. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna mimic. I loved bodybuilding back in the day. I'm like, I see this guy at the gym. He owns a gym. He was a chiropractor, and he seemed like he had everything together. He was driving around in nice cars. So back then, it was all superficial. I'm like, that life looks pretty neat. I want that. Right. So then I, fast forward a little bit. I go through, and I'm close to being graduated from undergraduate, and I get jumped, and I lose all the function in my freaking arms and hands. I'm like, well, there goes that goal. I'm like, wait a second, let's go to the chiropractor, let's get adjusted. And I started to get function back to my hands. I'm like, that's pretty neat. So now, instead of just having the knowledge of, neck pain, back pain, increased range of motion to help to get results with chiropractic, I knew that it could restore sensory. So I'm like, that's pretty neat. Yeah. So all these things started adding up, and then I told, from back in the day, I'm like, I'm going to be a chiropractor in Texas. Nobody understood why. I have some family in Texas. I'm like, I just want to go to Texas. That's just what I'm going to do.
Dallas Cowboys, man. Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, not for that. We were in Houston. So when I was in chiropractic school, I just kept doing my thing, kept talking about going to Texas. Even back then, I'm like, Texas. So I went. I was only there for 4 years, but what did I get? I got an awesome education from, all the patients and things that I came in contact with, but I found my wife. So if I hadn't put it out there that I was going to go to Texas, I would have never met Megan. We would have never went to the same gym. Yep. All of these things, all these ducks lined in a row, and it was like, holy smokes! Every single path has been chosen for me, and I was able to find the woman of my dreams. And then we're coming back home. So it all comes full circle. And so I think people need to be more cognizant and more aware of these miracles that happen, and miracles are basically anything that science can't prove from their own scientific method, but it happens a lot more often than you think
now, right? There is there's the energy, those vibrations, the frequencies, all of those different things. There's more to it than we all think. I'm not up to code on every single research paper. Over the last, we talked yesterday, over the last 3 days I've been reading about zeolite. I've read 100 pages of research about zeolite. I don't have time to read every single research article out there. We read a lot though, right? Mm-hmm. The reason we do that is because we want to provide the best care for every single person that walks through our door. We want to give the best information, because when we get the information, you have the ability to take control of your health care, and I don't have to do anything, right? I just got to tell you, hey, I said last night on my video, if every single person just sat down and watched our videos, I would be out of business, because they wouldn't need to come see me. It's that simple, and it's just, but this is a huge part of it. That's why I wanted to do this topic with you, because we have that good connection and we're on the same page, right? When we talk about these things, if people just would say that to themselves, but when you see your patients and they're sitting there and they're like, I'm sick, I've been sick for X amount of years, I feel like crap, like then you are going to be those things. And that is the number one thing you need to change right away. It's like you need to stop saying I am sick. Start saying I am healthy.
I'm healed. Yeah, I'm healed.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's the first change you can make, and then everything will come together for you. And most people already make those sayings, and that's why they come to us. They see us and like, oh, I was just thinking about, I need to, when they see my Facebook ads about inflammation, they're like, I was just thinking about how can I reduce my inflammation? And then they find our inflammation talk, and then they come, and then they learn about healthcare and how it should be approached. It's crazy. It's so amazing.
Did you ever put it out there that you needed to get a certain patient, and all of a sudden you get a phone call the next day, and the patient's like, hey, I want to come. Yeah.
It's crazy too. Probably like, man, no new patients tomorrow. Man, I wish I want a new patient tomorrow. All of a sudden, boom, they'll call. I'm like, hey, can I come in today? It's like, oh yeah, sure, for sure. I'll see you in a couple minutes.
Right? Yeah, I'll pick you up. No, I mean, it's yeah. I mean, really, the power of the mind is, and the power of mind is massively impactful. And I think that where a lot of people dismiss it is because science can't, I mean, there are some studies and stuff, but you can't truly understand the makeup of the brain and emotions and the chemical properties and biochemistry of the body, because we're so unique, and everybody has different sets of genes and different things that are active and different emotions that are all tied into this, that all make us flawless individuals. And it's just, oh my gosh, man, it's it's so cool.
You want to know why we can't figure out the brain?
Why is that?
Because we're trying to figure out with the brain. So you like a robot couldn't figure out another robot, right? Like, so
is that a quote?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I just thought of it. Boom. It is now.
There it
quote
is.
Dr.
Patented.
Proprietary. Quote Dr. I'm going like every time I'm like Dr. Patrick, I'm like, quote that. Like write that down. Whatever I say.
Like write that down.
Write that down. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So
no, I mean, so like when we talked yesterday, you were talking about some other strategies and things too that you're trying to work on. Like what are some of your other things that you've seen in practice that have been pretty impactful on this stuff?
So we're trying to develop a program per se for our patients to go through to get that mind change in like instantly, right? Not instantly, but like it'll take a little bit of time. And there are like different mechanisms you can do. Like there's things called Psych-K, EFT, and a bunch of other stuff that kind of helps balance out the hemispheres to allow you to directly attack the
affected area,
the subconscious area, right?
Yeah.
But like, I'm not a psychologist, right? But we got to treat all three T's. So what we're trying to do is develop a program in which you'll go through, and it's all going to be lumped together. So it'll have to do with positive affirmations, getting them to start meditating, or prayer, or even like, so right before bed you jump into that theta phase. So that's your hypnotized, because when you're hypnotized, that's when you're most able to attack the subconscious. Yeah, when you're in that theta phase, it's just right before bed. So delta, you're asleep. Beta, you're like wide awake. Alpha is like when you're watching TV and your like mouth hangs open and you're like just absorbing information. Like that's alpha. Oh, you said something, Chloe? Sorry, I was watching TV. So that's that alpha phase, and then you go into the theta phase, which is like you're hypnotized and you can really basically download information from like Google, right? So that's the way I recognize it. So like if you go to bed and you say these things over and over and over and over right before bed, and you continue to say them, and then you fall asleep, you were downloading that information all the way up until because you have to go through theta to get to delta. So we're trying to implement ways to help people manage that. And then right when you wake up, if you wake up right away, gratitude practice, I'm sure you've heard about it. If you wake up and say the things you're grateful for, and then start talking about how amazing you are, all of those things are going to be great for you, right? So developing programs like that in which we can better what's the word I'm looking for? Manage it with patients, right? So we're developing some journaling kind of stuff, and stuff like that. So, and some classes here at the office, anything really. Just we're all balancing it all out. It just takes time. My partner Kitty, she's the expert on all that. She's the brains behind the operation. I'm just the face.
She's the brains behind the brain.
Yeah, right. I know what's going
pulling
on.
Strings.
Like, how can we make this work, right? Like,
So there's two other things I wanted to dive into as well, because they kept passing through, and then I finally remembered, so I wrote them down again on my imaginary paper.
Yeah, sure.
Have you ever seen the Master Emoto water experiment?
Is that like where they did the ripple effects and then they come together?
No. So what they did is that's when they did. I think the original thing is they taped words to water, or they like spoke words to water, like "I hate you," and then they looked under a microscope and froze the water, and you could actually see the structure of what the water turns into. So hate is like this tarry looking disgusting stuff. Love, it turns into like this beautiful crystalline structure. It just keeps going through like prayer, and then like there's a dam that was like poison water, and then they say prayer over the water, and it cleansed it and changed the whole structure. And the majority of us is water, so like that's really cool that again words have that impact.
Right. I never even thought about that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So the other thing too is Richard J. Santo, again pulling out the archives from back when I was down in Texas. He talked about quantum physics, metaphysics. I don't remember the
quantum
exact
physics. Yeah.
Quantum physics. Yeah. So he talked about how we're all balls of energy basically, and if you really condense this all down, we'd like be the size of like a softball, but we're all filled with gaps of air in between. So we're all interconnected. So that as a species, as humans, we are all interconnected. And so whenever I'm having a bad day, technically I can have a ripple effect that hits you, and you're like, wow, whoa, like I was doing fine. What the heck is going on? So we're all bouncing this energy back and forth. So we also have these protective things too. Oh, I'm going deep. So we also have these protective things too, where he talked about this example of deer. There was an area of I think it was like somewhere in the woods, where they were just seeing this deer population just drop dead, like just dead deer everywhere. And you're like, what the heck is going on? Is there any animals coming and attacking them? Are they eating anything that's poisonous? Like, what is going on in the area?
5G.
Well, now it's 5G. They can't even find their way back. Like, I'm screwed. We're all screwed. That's another issue, magnetite in the brains and stuff. But anyways, so these deer were going after, they tested everything, and these trees were like totally fine, okay? And they're like, well, it looks like they're eating the bark here. They tested the bark. They tested the tree. They're like, there's no poison. There's nothing that's really coming from these trees. I don't know what the heck's happening. So some knucklehead took a newspaper and smacked the tree and tested it afterwards. It's a true story. Tested it afterwards, and what happened was the tree made a protective poison up against it, so that way when the deer came after and was trying to bite like the bark or like mess up with the bark, they were actually getting poisoned from the tree, and afterwards the tree would go back to its normal like healthy structure. Wow. So talking about how we're all interconnected, we all have this innate intelligence that kind of all like wraps us up like a big spider web. It was miles around that one tree that was attacked that all of the trees in a certain radius would also produce that same acid that would kill the deer, to basically send like, hey, I just got attacked. Everybody else be careful. Produce this acid so you can't get attacked.
Oh, that's so crazy.
Freaking cool.
I love biology. I love science. I love Earth. Like, it's so cool. That's going back to my hippiness. I have a grounding mat that I lay on with my office. I think that's so cool. Wow. Yeah. And I like how, like, so, like, even if you're in Pittsburgh, like, I could be thinking about you, and, like, that can have an effect on you. I think that's, And it's about the frequency, and then Kitty mentioned something about string theory, and Chloe always says, I'm a grain of rice, treat me as such. So grains of rice have a negative, they grow. Obviously, plants, if you talk native to a plant, it won't grow as strong as if you talk positive to a plant, right?
Exactly.
So, it's so funny. That's so awesome. So, you got anything else, man?
I don't think, man.
Next week? Next
I'm
week,
fine with
another
that.
topic coming at you from hopefully his page. We just got to figure out how to do it. So.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll do like a little mock live or something like that. But yeah, I think we should start doing this weekly because, I mean, what did we rehearse today? Nothing.
Oh no, this was all just off the top of my head.
Yeah,
I just like talking with people, right?
Yeah, it's perfect. So yeah, we'll do it. Sometime next week we'll try to get it fixed up so that way we can try to do it on my page too. If not, I mean, we can always bounce back on yours. But as long as we're getting the content out there, I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, for sure. We can do it again. Yeah, I'm awesome. I'm super stoked for that. I think that's a great idea. I want to do as many shows as possible. I want to get as much information as possible because that's what it's all about. Like educating people. Like that's what a doctor does and doctors should do. And if I just
doctor means teacher. Yep,
exactly. And that's why we're so adamant about getting information out there. That's why me and you vibe so well because we got that energy. We want to educate people, right? So,
absolutely.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. Check out Dr. Jacque Moser, Wellness Way, Pittsburgh, Structured Chiropractic. Amazing guy, amazing doc. Again, if you want to check us out and know what we have going on, Kitty will drop some comments in and she'll let you know. So, again, thank you guys so much for joining. Keep on learning and enjoy the journey.
See you, brother.
See ya.